What's going on, man? What can I help you out with?
Hey, I have a few questions. So I started last week cold calling, and I already found a few motivated sellers. I
Okay.
have a guy that is motivated to sell. He has solar panels, and he's renting them. He's paying them right now. How would I go about that?
So I'm an expert on solar panels. So you guys, I did it. So I did one of my houses. I lived in it for a while, but I wound up selling it. I did the whole house in the Tesla solar panels with the power walls. So I know exactly how this works. So ask me your specific question, and I can answer it.
So when I try to find a buyer, how do I add in the solar panels in there? Do I need to
So is the
I don't know how to
person
sell it
that's
with them.
so is the house being rented, or is the seller looking to liquidate the house?
He's looking to sell the house.
Okay. Does he have a
He
renter in it?
he has a renter in there, but he wants to get him out already.
So simply ask the seller, does he lease the solar panels or does he own them?
He leased them. He just had him for 3 years. He still has to pay him.
So ask him. So if you want to get in the weeds on it, ask him what his payment is and what the cost savings is on it, because
Okay.
that's what everybody wants. So most people are horrified of solar panels. What state are we talking about?
Nevada.
Okay. So you guys got good sunlight there. So it's a good state for it. So most of the time, solar panels are an asset to a house. You much prefer when they own it because they just record a lien like a mortgage on the property and it gets satisfied when it gets sold, or they can transfer it. But the reality is when they lease it, people try to get into it for cheap. So the only way you can have them, so you have to look at the contract, and there's rules within the contract when the property gets sold. So I would find out if he's serious about it and you got a good deal, find out what the rules are. And then most of the time, it's stupid to pull them out. Here's the challenge with solar panels. Do you know if they went through the roof on it or they wrapped it around the roof?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm gonna walk the
Ask them
property
these
with him.
questions because for
Okay.
most solar panels, just so you guys know, they got to punch a hole in the roof. Dude, it's heart wrenching when they do it to your own home, but that's the cleanest way to get all the piping and all the wiring and feed the cells. So a lot of times they do lease, they'll run it on the side of the building and over, because
Okay.
if it ever expires, they're not doing damage to the house. Because the reality is taking that solar panel down, if they punched it through the roof, it's really costly. And someone's going to have to eat that bill. So the reality is in Nevada or like a state like Florida, where they get a lot of sunshine, is they use it to offset their energy cost. And so he knows what the savings is on it. And that's, in my opinion, if it's cost effective, why not just keep it on there and transfer it over? So say if it costs $200 a month to have, but it offsets his energy cost by $200, then I would leave him there. But some
Okay.
people sign but here's the problem. Some people sign some crazy financing agreement or lease terms, and you got to know what they are. So
Yeah.
just read
According
the
to
rules.
him,
Yeah.
he has a really good deal and he's saving a lot of money. So I'm gonna ask for the contract so I can go
Yeah.
over it.
But like, listen, here's the deal. Like, here's what I say to people. I appreciate you putting those solar panels on it. It has no value to you and me. You can't tell them I'd pay you more for it, because it actually complicates the deal. The crazy part is I've sold a lot of houses with solar panels. I've sold even little rental houses with them. A lot of people are scared of them. They don't understand them and they're confusing. So for that point, I don't give them a premium for it. Now, if you have an entire Tesla system and stuff like that, it's a $180,000 program. And that's a whole different, but most of them are these,
Normal.
yeah, they're just,
Regular.
and they're ugly. And a lot of people don't like to look at them. So honestly, as many people as you attract, you chase as many people away, and that's not a great thing for wholesale. So don't pay a premium for it. Number one, find out what the rules for terminating his lease or when the property gets sold, because every property eventually gets sold. They got to have some sort of clause in there. I assume there's a transfer, and they usually charge like $150 to put a new owner on it. But if it's going to be a homeowner type house, do you know if it's going to wind up being a homeowner type house or a rental house? You think in the long run, the area?
It's probably gonna be a rental property.
So that would be a benefit to a renter, though, wouldn't it? Because it offsets their. So listen, just find out if they went through the roof, what the terms of the lease are, and how they transfer it. And remember, it's just a minor little inconvenience type of deal. Just figure it out. If he needs to sell it. Worst case scenario, they just dismantle it and take it back. So they have the ability. If he doesn't make payments on it, they just hop on there and repo the system. So I'm hoping it's not through the roof, because you can't just repo and leave a hole in someone's roof.
I'm gonna ask that question.
Yeah, the hole through the roof's like a couple grand, like type of maintenance. And honestly, once you compromise the roof like that, it's really hard to like shingle. It looks ugly. Let me ask you, do the panels look ugly?
No, they look pretty new. They were put in 2.5 years ago.
Yeah. So remember, this is just part of the math equation. But here's the key is, unless it's an incredibly complicated system where they cover the whole roof in like Tesla tiles, do not pay a premium for it, because the end buyers are like, okay, I'll take it, but I don't want it. That's what they always
Yeah.
say to me. Even when I sold $1 million house, they're like, okay, I'll take it, but I don't want it. Like most people are scared of them. They think it's crazy. And some of them are right. Sometimes it's beneficial. But if you're in a very sunny state, sometimes it is a huge help. But you got to understand, putting $100,000 in the system to save a couple $100 a month, it's kind of insane.
Yeah. And they're very popular here.
Yeah. So if they're popular and you're in a sunny state, but like in some states, like, well, I know California, like they're mandating it, but like up in the Northeast, it's not even cost effective. And when they get covered in snow, you can't even use them for a few months out of the year. You got to keep dumping snow off them. They all say, oh, the snow slides. It doesn't slide off of them. And then I get we have these, what do they call them?
Monsoons.
We have a type of bird here. I forget. It's a big giant bird. They're dumber, they're crane creeks or something like that. But when they go to the bathroom, they have this beautiful ability to dump it right on your solar panel, and they're black and it looks like crap. And then I had to hire a guy 3 times a year to go up there and scrub it off. I don't know why they just crap on my solar panels, but like nobody told me about this. Wow. And the guy goes, well, when it rains, but when it doesn't rain for 2 or 3 months, like we have now, like they're covered in crap. Birds like to sit on them. So there's a lot of maintenance feature. And then there's issues with the roof when you do it. So just find out the details. Just part of the math problem.
I'm going to. I have another question.
Low. Go ahead.
Okay. I have another property that the guy is going through a divorce. He owns a house, and they have to sell. He said they want to sell, but he said that he's waiting for the judge to let him know when he can sell. Do you have any? I'm pretty sure you have experience with those type of properties.
Remember, well, thank God I don't have any experience in divorce, other than my own parents, which was a disaster. Like everybody else has to deal with that crap. But my biggest challenge with the divorce is usually one party reaches out to you and the other one fights you on it. So do you have 2 people working together to try to sell the property?
No, I reached out to the husband. The wife is still living at the property. The husband is living somewhere else. He said that they both want to sell, but they're waiting on, he said, the judge and the lawyer to let them know when they can start looking to sell. Okay.
So I'm going to tell you my experience with divorce and wholesaling. The problem is usually have one highly motivated property. One of the partners is like, they just want out, and the other one holds out for like full blood. And so before you ever enter in any divorce like thing, make sure you have consent of both parties, or you're wasting your time. So a lot of times if the husband reaches out to you, the wife, the soon to be ex, thinks you're enemy number 1 too. And I've gotten all the way to the closing table and like, oh my God. So I've had success with them, but like it's when 2 people can like be mature enough to just go, okay, it's over. Let's get rid of it. Let's move on. We got some challenge with the house. I want to move on. If you don't have that consent up front, then do not waste your energy, because you cannot referee that fight, dude. And God, if there's children involved, it's even worse.
Yeah. Would I have to be involved if I wholesale it? Would I have to be involved with the judge and the lawyer or any of that?
No, they need consent to sell it. That's it. So they're never setting the price. The price is always going to be set by the married couple. And the problem is sometimes the guy's just like, dude, I want out. Maybe they feel guilty for something they did. And the wife's like, no way. I got to raise my kids here, and you don't have the full story. So I've got a lot of those calls. So just make sure you sniff it out, because if you spend a lot of energy and time to find out one of the partners isn't going to sign the deed at the closing table, you're literally wasting your time. So make sure you find that out and go, listen, I respect you, but because here's a lot of questions. We go, listen, do I have to involve my wife in the sale of this? And I go, dude, it's a divorce. Like, yes. Oh, well, forget it. Okay. You can't, dude. Like most states, you need consent anyways. Even if you have a good marriage and you want to sell something, one can't sell without the consent of the other. So just make sure I go, listen, how does your wife feel about this? I get it. It's difficult. Can I have her number and just talk to her? And if he tells you you can't talk to her, heed the warning, dude. It means they're on really bad terms. And guess who pulled you into it, Zeus? He pulled you into it, and now you are on the same level as him, and you are against her, and you wind up in this fight. Like, you're done with it. Like, dude, I'm never going to get married after I see stuff like that. But listen, I got to have consent, because it's just, I get it. It's hard. But a lot of times when it's fresh in the divorce, people make irrational decisions and call wholesalers because they want to fix a problem fast. There's no fast fix to divorce. You got to go through the right channels. The price is always set by the people that own the property. The judge just says they want to make sure everyone's represented correctly. So they'll ask, are you good with it? To the wife, to the husband, are you good with it? And if one objects, then they have to come to an agreement. So a lot of the divorce decrees, they have to argue on what the value of the house is. And a lot of time one wants $1 million and the other wants to just done. They don't want any money from it. And that's when a judge gets involved. And that's when you get appraisals and all that other crap and it gets tough. So every now and then I've seen mature people go, listen, it just didn't work out, but we want to be respectful, and she has and like, I love working with people like that, but man, when they're in the full on fight, dude, move on. Cause I spent my entire life with my parents doing that. And if you guys ever went through any type of divorce, it sucks. There's a certain maturity in life. Sometimes stuff doesn't work out. I don't want to get involved in other people's messes because you can't fix that problem.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a problem because when I talked to the guy, he was not speaking so well about his ex-wife. So
no, but like that's not our job to judge. You just need to consent. So like, don't bring in. You can't pick sides, is what I'm telling you. And she's gonna like say the same crap. Like you almost feel like you two need to talk. But like, it's not my job. I get it. It's tough, man. I went through a brutal divorce when I was growing up. Severely affected the family, and it created a lot of issues when I was a teenager. And like, I get it. Like, I feel for people. It's tough, but I do understand sometimes divorce is just necessary. Some people just grow and they go different. So. It sucks, but I'm just telling you, when people reach out to you guys in divorce, if you don't have consent of both parties, don't even do a comp. It's a waste of time. A lot of times I have to refer those to realtors because they need a realtor to sit there and hold their hand 6 months through it. I'm not doing it. And in the end, if it's a problem property, then they'll bring it to me and I move on. So just save yourself. It's weird when one contacts you and the other doesn't. I'm not talking to her. That means you are going to be the go-to between them. And it's like, you're going to have to negotiate between the two and you're never going to make it work. So, yeah,
I don't want to go through that headache. Last question.
Yeah.
I found a seller through the code violations list. He has a property for sale, but it's on the MLS and it's been on there for like almost close to 300 days. He wants to sell. His brother's living in it. He doesn't want to live there anymore. He's out of state. But there is I looked up property. There is a real estate agent. Should I just stop communication with the seller and call the agent, or how do I do this?
So have you talked to the seller? Or?
I talked to the seller. I actually have to call him here like in the next 30 minutes. So we can talk a little bit more about the house. He's like throwing numbers out there way lower than what the comps are in the area. So he's motivated to sell. His brother wants to get out.
Real simple. Just talk to the seller and get the information. And once you have the information, you find motivation. I would work on a price first and then go, how are we going to deal with this realtor? Odds are his deal probably expired and she's just kind of keeping it out there, but find out what his obligation is. You're not a licensed realtor, are you?
I'm not.
So guys, this is the perfect example of why you don't want a real estate license. Because if you were, you can't talk to this guy. You can talk to him. Oh. It's your right to. As a licensed real estate agent, you ethically can't. This is a huge advantage of why Jesus doesn't have a license, because now you can go and back in this deal because either the realtor is crazy or the seller is crazy. Your job is to find out why this thing's not selling, find out the numbers. And then once you get a commitment for a number, I'd get a signed contract and I say, how are you going to deal with the realtor? Because Jesus, who pays for that realtor in the end?
The buyer, right?
Seller.
Oh, the seller. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So even if he signs an agreement with you, if he wants to pay the realtor, that's his problem, not yours. It's not your problem. The realtor had 300 days to sell it. Guys, don't get your license because you can't do what Jesus is doing. And I tell you this all the time, this stuff comes up. If you have your license, you do not have this option. You cannot talk to that seller. Jesus, go crazy because you didn't get your license and you listen to me. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to talk to him because he's
get a deal, get it under contract, then deal with the realtor situation. Because if he signs a contract, if he wants to pay it to the realtor, it's his option, not yours.
Okay.
Unless he gives you such a smoking deal. He's like, will you throw the realtor a little bit of money? I go, I don't know. What did you commit to the realtor for? And just so you know, anybody can get out of a realtor listing if they complain enough. I know a lot of realtors are going to scream about me, but honestly, 300 days, you got to be kidding me. That's a joke. That's almost.
I got to find out why. I got to find out why it hasn't sold because it's a pretty nice property. According to
I know, but so I would do the contract, do an inspection period, get it locked down, and then backwards out all the other stuff because you're probably not going to be the first guy he talks to. So you want to make sure you're definitely the last. So use this, and guys. If you have your realtor's license, you cannot use this technique because if he knows it's listed, you ethically and morally cannot contact the seller. You can't. So how did you get in touch with the seller?
Cold calling.
Yeah, there you go. Perfectly legal. Go do it. Put it under contract first, then deal with the problems afterwards.
Okay. Sounds good.
Deal with the realtor up front because it's going to stall your deal.
Okay.
And then you can negotiate it on the back end. But remember, it's his obligation to negotiate it unless he brings it up. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, man. Good job. See ya.